guys, I hope you're having a good weekend. Let's jump into our 11th virtual pre-recorded lesson. I want to start this lesson the way we start all lessons, with just a quick check-in. The check-in that I'd like to do today with you all is something I call high, low, snapshot. So I'd love for you to just, in your mind or on a piece of paper if you want to free write, think of a high from this past week, something really good that happened, something that was exciting or fun. Think of a low, if you feel comfortable sharing, maybe something that wasn't so fun, maybe something that was a little stressful or sad or difficult. And then a snapshot from the past week, which is just any moment that you're going to remember, because it was either really funny or memorable or just something you want to hold on to. So take a sec, think back to the past week, think of your high, your low, if you feel comfortable sharing, and your snapshot. Once you've got those three things, I would love to hear them, so feel free to put them in the comments below where I post this video, or if you want them to remain private, you can type them in a separate Google Doc that you submit to me on our Google Classroom. Without any further ado, let's jump into our activity for this lesson. For our main activity for this pre-recorded video, I want to do this game that we played in a couple of our live drama club sessions called the Expert Game. Typically played with two people. Person A comes in and says to person B, "Hey, Mr. Walker, I hear you're an expert on," and then gives that person an object. It has to be an object, a thing that they're an expert on. So person A again comes in and says, "Hey, Mr. Walker, I hear you're an expert on spoons." Person B then has to launch into a stream of consciousness monologue about that object, as if they are a total expert on that thing. So they're just going to start going off on this monologue about this object that they're an expert on, that person A has just given them. Here's the trick of the game. The things you say, they don't have to be true. You can completely make them up. You just have to try to make them sound true and to just keep acting like you really are an expert on this object. So let me do a quick demonstration with our example of spoons. Imagine there's two people. "Hey, Mr. Walker, I hear you're an expert on spoons." "Ah, yes, the spoon was invented in 1541 by an Italian man named Reginaldo di Spuno, which is where the name spoon comes from. Spoons were typically, in those days, at first made with wood. However, as the technology evolved, spoons were eventually made with metal, with iron, with zinc, and eventually even the highest class spoons with titanium and steel. The spoon gets its distinctive shape from the bay, the sort of circular bay in the town in Italy in which the spoon was invented. That is why the spoon has that sort of circular shape, because it mimics the shape of the body of water that surrounds this little town where Reginaldo di Spuno was born and grew up in southern Italy." Scene. I was just totally riffing. I was completely making it up as if I was a total expert on the history and the legacy and the information about spoons. None of the information was true, but did you notice how it sort of sounded true because I was acting like I truly was an expert on this thing? That's the idea of the game. Again, doesn't have to be true, just has to sound like it's true. The trick to this game is, again, it comes back to this sort of core rule of improv of trust yourself. Trust yourself. Because as soon as you start getting in your own head and critiquing your own choices and judging your own choices and wondering, is this funny? Is this good enough? Does this sound realistic? Your creativity just goes, wah. And your ability to just sort of make stuff up, to improvise, is just totally squashed. So again, this game is all about just relaxing, having fun, trusting yourself, and going for it. And remembering that it doesn't have to be true. It can be totally made up. That's sort of the fun of this game. I encourage you to just lean into the silliness while you're playing this. Don't be afraid to be goofy and say ridiculous things about whatever object you're an expert on. As long as it kind of sounds true and you're really pretending that you are actually an expert on this object, the game will be successful. Obviously, you can play this game live with another person, so you can play it with family members, cousins, parents, brothers, sisters who live with you in your household, or it can very easily be adapted virtually, so you can play it with another person or multiple people over Zoom, Google Meets, FaceTime, whatever sort of virtual interface platform you're able to access. After you play this game, I just have a couple of reflection questions for you to think about. First question is, what was challenging about this game while you were playing it? What was particularly difficult? And follow up to that, were there any sort of tools, tips, or tricks that you sort of discovered while playing this game that made it a little easier to just sort of go for it and pull stuff up out of nowhere? What were those sort of tips and tricks that you kind of discovered as you were playing it that helped you be successful at the game? Last question, and I hinted at this earlier, but why do you think a game like this, where we just have to sort of make stuff up on the spot and go with our gut, why do you think we might play that in an acting class? And what sort of skills is this game pushing us to practice that will be useful for us as actors? I'd love to hear your thoughts to all those reflection questions. Feel free to go back and listen to those questions again, because I realize I just said a lot. Think about them. You can write down your answers. You can put your responses again in the comments below where I post this video, or if you want them to remain totally confidential and private, you can message your responses to the reflection question into a separate Google Doc that you just send to me. I hope you had fun. If this game got you feeling sort of joyful and goofy and having a grand old time, we do a lot of games like this in our live drama club classes. Please, you are always welcome to come through. Would love to have you there. We meet every day of the week, Monday through Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. And starting this winter into spring, we're going to be doing a play with all kinds of different characters and stories, so I would love you to be there for it. Have a good rest of your week. Till next time.